It doesn't matter to me. Because it's not my. Let's be honest. Let's be quite frank. My job is to run a tournament as best as I can.
You also have moral obligations. This is a point of LD debate.
I have a moral obligation to follow the rules as best as I can follow them.
You don't have a moral obligation to uphold immoral contracts. If you're a contractor's job,
I don't know what contract is immoral about following language that governs kids who violate evidence. What moral obligation do I have?
You're deciding your inconsistent application of
what inconsistent application?
I believe Dave and Krishna have talked to you.
Right, but what have we done inconsistently? When are cases in which we applied NFL rules under a protest and have?
For instance, the notification limit of the NFL rules. You don't even seem to care about that.
No, I do care about that.
Then why are you taking that into consideration?
I don't understand the question.
I'm saying that.
What I'm saying, you're right. In that particular case, we had no choice. We're dealing with a situation for which the rules don't govern. In a legal setting, when the rules don't govern a situation, the judge does the best he or she can do, and he's not going to make everybody happy.
Why don't we look at what
the matinee was the judge?
There is no, not in this case. There is no solution that can make everybody happy, and I'm not going to make the decision that makes the majority happy, because that to me also doesn't make any sense. I don't make decisions by consent. In fact, you'd have less respect for me as a tournament director or event director if I did.
Why don't we look at quote ethically?
That was an interesting quote.
The decision is based on an interpretation of the only set of rules that exist.
I just want you still think there's no community norm though?
I don't know if there's a community norm.
Everybody out here is told.
That's fine. What do we do? Conduct a poll?
Sure.
No, everybody here raised their hands.
Yeah, look, I mean, how do we determine what a community norm is?
What's the p-value on a statistical
Look,
sample?
I've already
Like
let's be quite frank, and I've already said it. If you think we made a mistake, then do what you need to do. My advice for you would be, I don't care what you do with regard to the debaters. Don't debate, do debate. Trust me, recording wins and losses doesn't change whether you're in the room or not. The reality is that if you wish this problem to be remedied, this is not going to solve the problem moving forward, by the way. It's not. The only solution moving forward, to be quite frank, is have the people who advise this tournament to change the rules. So guess what? Go do that. Debate the round. Do what you came to do. Go debate the round and trust that the members of the advisory committee hear you and will fix it going forward. I don't understand the problem. I really don't.
We don't trust that the advisory committee will fix it going forward.
Already overturned a decision that was
The advisory committee had absolutely nothing to do with the decision that was made.
Okay.
The advisory committee exists to advise a tournament director. Now, if you wish to come up with a set of rules that limit the tournament director in the authority that he or she has, then you can advise the committee to do that. You're talking about the only, and I said this earlier, you're talking about the only tournament that does not have a handbook to follow.
But not to be rude, but it seemed like when there wasn't a rule about this issue,
we did the best we could.
No. I'm not questioning the action. It seemed like when there wasn't a rule, that effectively had limited the tournament director's authority, because in the past it's always been dealt with by the judge, even at this very tournament.
To be honest, I've been at this tournament for 20 years.
Okay.
This is the first time I've ever heard an evidence protest filed in LA.
Right, that's the exact point. That's the exact point.
That doesn't
I've
tell me anything.
had several rounds where evidence. In fact, my runoff round.
Steven, I don't know that. I have zero chance of knowing that. I have zero chance of knowing that.
My runoff round.
I know. I don't just.
Evidence
You can give me.
a one last year.
Alex, you can give me all of the examples in the world. That doesn't change the fact that I don't have that knowledge.
But we're telling you.
Right, you're telling me now in my 8th year being the event director, and you want me to figure out what I should have done in the 7 previous years.
How do we
No, we're asking. We want you to do it right now.
A protest.
Okay.
Unless the guidelines suggest otherwise. Now, if you want a rule out there that says all matters of evidence, ethical conduct with regard to evidence, needs to be handled in the round, and the judge's decision is the sole decision, then write that rule, and the advisory committee very well might recommend to Andrea that rule be passed. I don't have a problem. I'm not objecting to the ability to craft that rule. I'm simply saying we don't have that rule, and we made the best decision that we made. The reality is we governed, which judges do all of the time. They make the best decision they can.
That's exactly what Matinee did.
And a protest was filed, at which point Matt is no longer the judge and arbiter of that complaint. I am.
Right, but
I made the best judge decision that I can make. So you can't use Matt as the judge. A protest, because the protest was filed.
Right,
I become
did you
the initial.
evaluate whether Matt's decision was misguided, or if he was
No,
biased
I
in his
evaluated
application?
whether or not he had the rights to make that decision. And
Well,
so,
let me ask you a question. So,
which is why I appealed, which is why I asked the tournament director the question that I asked.
Why
and
is
she
it?
advised me to use the NFL rules, and I did.
Can I ask you a question?
She actually did not.
Why is it unethical for a high school student to do something that is done in academia academia in peer-reviewed journals all the time.
That is up to your advisory committee to decide whether or not the evidence rules for LD should be different than the evidence rules for policy.
Policy? I'm talking about academia.
All I'm telling you is you get to craft a set of rules consistent with whatever standard you want. Now, if you have an issue with the rules that we read about that they don't apply to academia, then do that. The NFL will revise those rules if they get enough input.
Ex post facto rules are a priori wrong.
Yeah.
You'll never convince me of that.
That's fine.
Making up rules in the middle of the tournament that people didn't have any way of knowing about is a priori wrong.
So this rule was violated maybe I'm sure, like, in
what's
at
that
least
card
10
that
of the
people
rounds.
read that says that all ethical statements?
I'm sure this exact same type of thing happened at least 20 times this tournament already.
Okay.
Different than the conclusion guys.
And I don't want
So
you to
then it's arbitrary to punish this one.
No, it's not arbitrary. A protest was filed in this one instance. I can only act on the piece of paper that's sitting before me.
I have an honest question.
No, because the NFL rules are also very clear as to the time you have to file those protests.
How long do we have?
20 minutes of the debate.
Well, no, the NFL rules governing the 2014 tournament don't say anything about that.
Actually, what are you talking about?
They go into effect next year.
Okay, and Andrew chose
There
to
is
follow them.
NFL for their rules.
Okay, look,
It's maybe,
obviously
I don't
I'm
know.
not persuading you, and I don't care to be quite frank. I'm suggesting, look, the decision's not going to get changed. So do what you think you need to do. I'm advising you as to what I think you should do, and you can take it from there.
This is the last thing I'll say on this whole subject.
It's unclear.
The only person who at the end of the day suffered because of this is a 16-year-old kid who, by all the rules that he was taught by his adults and by the whole community, won the debate. But no, we take it away from him.
I'm not sure the use of the word "suffer" would be particularly appropriate.
You don't think getting?
Okay? I don't think.
You don't think getting a loss?
5-1 is suffering. If
Then
it's
you must
down
not
two-
care about debate too much.
I don't
This is
think
the
there's-
TOC, and there's a huge
Right.
difference between 4-2 and 5-1.
No, there's a huge difference. That means it's suffering.
I think suffering a loss at a debate tournament is a form of suffering.
Okay, you're entitled.
So we cannot file protests from other rules violations, like other evidence violations
Like
now.
hours afterwards? No.
Well, I mean, this protest seems to have stretched. So if we have one in,
No, we followed the standard by which the protest was to be evaluated to the letter.
I don't know. So can we now submit protests from round 7 since this was just one, this was just the deliberation
Does
for
that
one
say that?
Yeah, I
protest?
sent it to you on Facebook.
It says if there's. Oh, I don't check my Facebook.
If there's no decision
If there's no
within 20
decision within
minutes,
20 minutes, it's supposed to be a double
There was
win.
a decision within 20 minutes. We made a decision within 20 minutes. You're just wrong. We made it. No, that's not true. Just because we didn't communicate it to you doesn't matter.
I also kind of think the rule book says it should be a double win no matter what, but
No,
I could be
because
reading
it
it wrong.
delineates the different types of rules. Look at the rule about misrepresentation. It's a different rule than the rule you're talking about. There are some evidence violations that are completely judge discretion, and there are some evidence violations that are not. This is the evidence violation that's not completely judge discretion.
I couldn't find that, but that's
It's called
I didn't
misrepresentation. I mean, it's very, very, very clear, read by at least 8-10 different people. So there's no question about it. The question isn't whether or not the rule was applied correctly, because it was.
Okay, yeah,
The question is whether or not it should be applied, and we're not going to agree to it. So that's all there is to it.